Okay, let's break it down. Grayscale to sidestep the SEC. Expert ponders bold Bitcoin ETF move. In a recent former Twitter exchange, Nate Gressy, president of the ETF store and host of the ETF Prime podcast, and Scott Johnson, finance lawyer at Davis Polk, dissected the potential for Grayscale to make a daring move regarding the uplisting of its spot Bitcoin ETF to the New York Stock Exchange. Their conversation revolved around possible advantage and risks and implications of such a decision. They initiated the discussion by suggesting a daring strategy. Interesting hypothetical play for Grayscale. Just go ahead and uplist GBC to New York now. Make SEC force delisting and ask for forgiveness later, or just point to the court victory. Obviously, we need the New York Stock Exchange and market makers and apps to go along. Probably the trickiest part. But what's the risk at this point? Johnson responded with skepticism about the New York Stock Exchange willingness to support Grayscale's bold Bitcoin ETF move, pointing out the need for an effective registration statement for the ETF. Dude, when you go to the DMV and you try to get a license and they make it so hard that you can't get a license, like eventually you got to make a new system. Like they're making it impossible for us to do what we need to do. They've gone through all the regulatory framework. They've gone through all the hoops. They've given them everything and they still refuse. Spot BF already approved. So the thread on X, Johnson delved deep into the ongoing saga between the SEC and Grayscale regarding the conversion of the GBTC into a spot Bitcoin ETF. Citing a recent interview with the SEC chair Gary Gensler, Johnson speculated that Gensler is keeping a low profile on GBTC, and there is likely a battle going on behind the scenes over whether Grayscale will have to resubmit its application after the ruling. He highlighted the SEC has issued a disapproval order on January 29th, 2022, just a week before their final deadline. Yet, in a turn of events, the D.C. Circuit ruled the disapproval order unlawful on August 28th. Johnson outlined the complicated implications of this ruling. So the tricky question is, how does this order to vacate by the D.C. Circuit actually impact GBTC? Did the SEC satisfy the statute of the issue, a disapproval order, or even if it was later ruled unlawful and vacated? and that's a lot of legalese. I'm not going to say but if I read through it slowly, it makes sense. You use this one ruling to say that, but you never fully stated it because we appealed it. Now you're trying to hold us back to resubmit, but you never even went against the first submission properly. So how can we take your next submission properly? It's like, how do we listen to your rules if you don't abide by them yourself? I think that's kind of the idea here, but need I digress, right? Circle to let merchants pay for customers' gas fees with Web3 wallet upgrade. Southeast Asia's super app Grab is currently piloting the new product to cover gas fees for its Singapore users. Circle to let merchants pay for customers' gas fees. This is amazing. USDC stablecoin issuer Circle Internet Financial on Thursday released an upgrade for its Web3 programmable crypto wallet that allows merchants to take over and pay for their customers' transactions fees. According to the press release, the new function called Gas Station lets businesses sponsor users' gas fees, the cost for money or transfers on blockchains, leveraging the ERC-433 Paymaster. That's kind of nice because you don't want to come here and then if I ask you to buy a sweater and you buy a sweater for $50, but then you have to spend a $5 gas fee, you're not going to want to use cryptocurrency. If I pay for your gas fees and make it part of the sweater, then you're going to want to go. Because when you go somewhere, you want to pay for $4. You don't want to pay $4. And what if they're like, hey, by the way, that's 40 more cents. I was at a restaurant recently. If you paid cash, they basically gave you a price. And the price was all cash on the menu. But if you decided to pay credit card, they were going to add a 4% charge onto the menu. And they said it right there. There was a little sign that says, anyone who doesn't want to pay cash, they said the menu is written in cash. If you don't want to pay, and that's just like now you're paying for transaction fees, technically, right? Same idea in a way, and not exactly the same, but what I mean is if you have to use a credit card, you pay more because you're paying for the transaction fees. They take the cash because it's all just one thing. We want crypto to feel like that. That's an interesting thing. That's why this is awesome. This function went live on Matic mainnet and testnet as well as Ethereum, and later will be expanded to more blockchains. It's a really smart thing. ERC-433, I love it. I can pay the gas fee. I can hit a little button, pay the gas fee for you. If you want to pay cryptocurrency, I could pay the gas fee for you. Now, again, takes a little bit of my profit, but it also benefits my customer, and that's the key move. I love this. This is huge. Bitcoin asset manager OnRamp unveils multi-sig platform adding BitGo to custodians. With multi-sig security, several custodians control the private keys to the Bitcoin being held. BitGo will perform the role alongside CoinCover and Kingdom Trust. I like that. I'm outside. Someone says, give me all your Bitcoin. I can't. There's 7 other people involved. It's just not going to happen. You're going to have to bring me there, and then you have to get like an army, and it's just not going to happen. It's useless. If we get multi-sig on everything and people have multi-sig through financial institutions, the financial institution can't steal your Bitcoin, and no one can access your Bitcoin without you going to the financial institution and getting a multi-sig. The only problem is, what if someone ever turns, It's sad you have to beg someone, hey, man, I need your multi-sig for my own money. But again, as with the trust, on-ramp is harnessing multi-signature security in which several custodians control the private keys to the Bitcoin being held. The asset manager has tapped BitGo. Now, that's how this should be done at institutions. We're holding say I was working for a giant institution. We're holding 10,000 Bitcoins, 30,000 Bitcoins. Not one person should ever be able to access that. We all have to, all the top 4 people or 5 people have to get together to access the funds. This is the greatest thing ever. That's how all custody should work. And this is why we need regulation, because then we could put all this stuff into a regulatory framework and we could vote on it and we can get it done. When they run away from this, then people aren't going to custody properly because there's no rules. There should be multi-sig rules for custody. There should be a bunch of rules for how to custody. And we know how to do it. Blockchain knows how to do it. Bring us in. Let's have the talks. But every time we try to have the talks, they refuse to actually do it. Coinbase went multiple times, head over heels, went to meetings, waited, and just were consistently brushed off as if they just weren't worth it. That's not how you treat people in America. That's not how you go forward. That's why everyone's so frustrated recently. And that is the news. Thank you so much for watching the news. I bring you a 3 to 5 minute segment every single day to keep you on, the cutting edge of what's happening. I mean, now you know that basically merchants can pay for fees. That's a huge deal. You know that Bitcoin managers should be doing multi-sig platforms, and they add BitGo to custodians. And that's, it kind of leads me into how we should be doing custody. And then on top of it, USDC has that Circle wallet to pay for people, in Grayscale really might make a big move. And that would be really big news if they just kind of go and force themselves on the stock exchange. And then they're like, what are you going to do now, SEC? You going to kick us off now? Why don't you kick us off now? Make them make a move for once. Put them on the defense. It's interesting. It's very, very interesting.